everyone. Welcome to TSP Weekly. This is your tech startup podcast for Thursday, October 30th, 2014. Today we are once again recording the Communitech Hub. We are once again in the room with the Star Wars graffiti.
The Hyde room.
Starting to feel a little more like home here, I think. But it's great. My name is Darren Conley. I'm a local tech entrepreneur here in Kitchener-Waterloo. With me, as always, is my co-host, fellow tech entrepreneur, Stephen Campbell. How are you today, Stephen?
Greetings, salutations, and good morning. Happy Halloween.
Greetings, salutations. That's what my host used to say on the previous podcast he used to work on.
Yeah, he called me, and he said he wanted to do a little shout-out to you today.
Yeah, fair enough.
I wanted to do a quick ad, and then I wanted to talk about something that I really missed out talking with Jennifer and Plasticity on last week.
Okay.
Which was superpowers.
Right.
Secret and superpowers.
All right.
But our second annual Designed Innovation Conference is coming up November the 13th.
And we've heard a little bit about this on past episodes.
We teased it a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
So this is something that the innovation, the IT innovation and design class, the third year class is hosting. We're looking for about... we're anticipating 200 to 300 people to coming.
And this is at Conestoga College, I think we should mention.
Yeah, it's at Conestoga College. We've got Ryan Gariepi from ClearPath Robotics as our keynote speaker.
Excellent.
We've got Tom Bishop. He just won the Aubrey Hager Award, which is sort of an annual Distinguished Teacher Leadership Role Innovative Creativity Award.
Right.
He's going to be talking about design.
That's quite a long title for an award.
Isn't that nice? Yeah, I don't know if that'll fit on his business card.
No, it might be tricky.
We've also got Ian Pillon from the Internet of Things, Matt Rose from Ubisoft Entertainment, so doing some game-focused stuff.
Excellent.
And a couple other speakers. So we've got some interesting speakers, going to have some breakout sessions and some Ask Me Anything roundtables. So
excellent. And
sort of Thursday afternoon.
And we can stick a link to the to that conference. Is it a conference? We're calling it a conference, yeah?
It's a conference. It's sort of 2 to 6.
Okay.
And for details, we'll put a link up on the
website?
The website would be great, yeah.
Yep.
And then the other thing I want to talk about was, so think about, do you guys have superpowers or secret powers? Because I know Jennifer last week from Plasticity, who was on, we didn't get to talk about him, but her superpower is her intuitiveness or her intuition.
Sure. And they had a series of videos, I think, for Plasticity employees, right? Talking about each one's superpower. Yeah.
So, and it got me thinking about superpowers. And her secret power is that she is really good at old school rap.
Right.
And so it got me thinking about the first rap song that I can ever remember. And it's Grandmaster Flash, The Message.
Right.
Did you ever hear that one?
I did, ages ago. Yeah.
It's really
I'm
old.
Super familiar with it, but yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I actually memorized that as a kid.
Holy crap.
Before rap was around or anything was really happening back in the early Stone Age.
Sure.
Really. So I was going to challenge her to see if she could rap it at all.
Right.
And I still want to challenge you, Jennifer, to see if I do see you today or at any time in the future. I challenge you to instantly rap Grandmaster's Flash The Message.
Well, maybe we'll have to have a rap off on some future episode.
Absolutely. That's the only rap I have, though.
Oh, that's the end. Did you incidentally see there was a video going around online? I think it's Jimmy Fallon on the Tonight Show with. I don't want to say Daniel Craig. Who is the guy who played Harry Potter? Daniel.
Oh yeah, and he
Daniel
raps.
Radcliffe.
Yeah, he raps.
And he does
I just saw last night.
Yeah, I mean that guy. He's got some hidden talents.
He's got some mad skills.
Yeah, if he wasn't going to be raking in residuals from the Harry Potter franchise for the rest of his life, I'm sure he could get into the rap scene. Well, listen, we should introduce our guest.
So speaking of mad skills, I'd like to introduce John Akinyemi from GoalRecorder. Now,
Excellent.
John and I met at Conestoga College. He was a teacher of our advanced technical math. What was the title of the course?
We're fundamentals.
Fundamentals. It wasn't advanced. It was it's fundamental.
It must have felt advanced.
It was.
Yeah.
It did feel quite advanced. And John was a great teacher because he was not only was he reactive and responsive and engaging with the class, but it was interesting to see him sort of very quickly develop an understanding of what was going to take to communicate to this vast array of skills and ages and diverse people some of these math concepts.
Sure.
So I think we went through 2 different semesters together, and I really enjoyed learning some math again. And I have some notes that although I couldn't maybe do some of that stuff now, if I had to go back and do some of those things, I could very quickly, get my head back into it. So thanks for that, because I think at the beginning you said, who doesn't like math? And I was one of the ones that sort of said, math and I have had our days.
Yeah, sure.
So welcome, John.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. We're looking forward to hearing more about GoalRecorder, and we're going to dive into that a little bit later in the second part of the podcast. Mm-hmm. We've kind of thrown John just into this blindly almost, so he's very much like playing it by ear as we go along here. But we're easy to play with, so I think it should be fine.
Sure,
I hope so. Let's look at our first tech news article we wanted to check out today. We're looking at an app called Looksery, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Looksery, a video chatting app that makes you look more attractive. Now, some of our listeners, probably most of our listeners, don't know this, but I actually had rhinoplasty surgery. I got a nose job.
Okay. Yep.
Probably 8 or 9 years ago, 10 years ago now. I used to look much different. I used to look like the kind of guy who might have got pulled over by airport security for being on a no-fly list. And so I got this new nose, which is much more aerodynamic and more boring than my last one. But
so you're saying your profile was profiled?
I suppose.
Wow.
I suppose. But I'm thinking I could have just used an app like this for free, and it is a free app, without having to have gone through all the bother about having plastic surgery done. Now let me explain a little bit about what this app does. So it's, if you've ever used any kind of video chatting app in the past, Skype or FaceTime or something like this, most people are familiar with what video chat entails. This one has an algorithm that will run to allow you to alter your appearance in actually a whole host of different ways. So depending on what you want to look like to the person who you're chatting with, you can have it remove blemishes from your skin. You can have it make your face look thinner if you want to, if you feel like your face is too fat. You can have it change your eye color. You can even have it make you look like a panda bear or
it's interesting that's the first one that came out of your.
Well, I think it's the first one that was listed here. Like there's a few different kind of crazy, funny things that'll let you do.
The one that jumped out to me was the flaming skull. I wrote down flaming skull, and you went panda bear. That's interesting. They had zombie was a choice, grumpy cat was a choice.
Well, I'm talking to a lot of times. I'm talking with my parents or my wife's family, and so the flaming skull might be a little overboard. But if I pop up as a panda bear, they would probably not be quite as freaked out, at least. So this is their big selling point. There's a lot of chat apps out there already, but this is the only one so far that I can see that in real time will actually make you appear more attractive to the person that you're chatting with.
Yeah.
So I don't know, guys. Have you ever thought to yourself, I'd
the
like
last
to,
time I was a flaming skull.
or I'd like to come across as a little less blemished or more thin or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
When you're chatting with somebody, I don't know.
It was interesting for me to look at it and to see that they were considering themselves in the mobile chat app space.
Yeah.
As sort of, which I get, I guess. It's sort of a filter, right, for the camera.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've talked about in the past is we see a lot of technologies and articles about a phone that passes smells around or shoes that vibrate left or right to tell you which direction to go. Yep. So really weird, smart technology that after I think about it for a little bit, I go, yeah, I don't think I'd buy that, but if I was buying something and that technology was incorporated into it, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And here, when I look at this article, that's what these guys are doing. They're making their filters available to other camera solutions. So they're out ahead of this thing saying, look, we want to be everywhere and get everybody using this, which I think is a great strategy.
They want to license it to other app builders.
Yeah, so they're active. Right? They don't have any announcements yet, but they're trying to talk to the big dogs, and they're walking down the hill slowly to form those relationships. So I think that's really a key thing that I see over and over again as I evolve and looking at these week after week. So I really like that strategy that they're doing there. And then backing up from that, I thought it was a really cool idea Well, I didn't think it was a cool idea till I saw the flaming skull thing. Then I was in.
Right.
Then I went to see their Kickstarter campaign, and it was disturbingly creepy. Like when they show
The eye color stuff is a little freaky.
that was cool
sure.
because I can get that. I can disassociate easily enough to say it's Halloween and you've got red eyes today, or you've
Okay.
got blue eyes, or whatever, right?
Sure.
Or they're dragon eyes with the big iris, or
Yeah.
But the slimming was really weird. They
Right.
showed some heavy set people
Yeah.
with their slimmed faces down, and it was really creepy.
Yeah,
Didn't it?
fair
Like
enough.
it just looked really weird. There was one woman that they had that looked very natural,
Yeah.
but it looked very staged and very make-upped, and hair person had been out, and
Sure.
so I don't know what kind of effects. It's supposed to be very subtle.
Yeah.
Other than the flaming skull, I don't know how subtle that is. But
Yeah, or looking like a panda bear or whatever.
yeah, a lot of it was slimming and skin improvement.
Sure.
So you could do it sort of and not let the other person know that you have done the upgrades or the improvements, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But then you could go to the eyes, go to the next level where it's obviously cartoon or avatar
Yeah, or
based.
some animation kind of thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
Now let's just ask John. Could you see first of all? Do you use video chat ever when in your daily life or interaction?
Yeah, I've used Skype a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, use Skype, so...
Could you see yourself using an app that alters your appearance somehow in the video chat?
I'm not sure. This technology, sometimes you never know until a very good use case comes along.
Yeah.
If there's a very good use case, then you jump and you use it.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm
sure.
kind of a little bit, maybe I still don't understand it very well. It's my first time seeing this.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
So the video chatting app that makes you look more attractive. So
Yeah.
by having red eyes, does that make you look more attractive?
Maybe not necessarily. I guess it depends. The eye of the beholder. Maybe if the recipient could alter your appearance.
Yeah,
as they're
maybe
talking
that's what
to
I'm
you, right?
thinking. Maybe the recipient should alter the way you look.
Yeah,
So that's what
yeah.
I'm thinking. So.
Yeah, could be. I think to myself, this is something where if I'm altering my appearance, really I'm doing it for whoever I'm talking to for the most part, right?
Right.
And
Like I can
And
see
how-
myself walking behind my wife talking to you
Yeah.
on Skype and me going, "Are you talking to Fabio?" She says, "No, I just made Darren look like that,
Sure.
So that would be cute,
So part of me has to think, well, the recipient, do they want to see me looking thinner
Like Fabio?
or with different eye color or whatever it might be, right?
Right.
I guess like part of me thinks part of the draw of video chat is the authenticity of connecting face to face with somebody,
Yeah.
and now you're kind of adding a layer of artificiality
Yeah.
between that, right?
Yeah, it's like putting an avatar there.
Yes, that's right. And I think there's something maybe fun about having a mirror that when I look in the mirror I can see a more attractive version of myself. Just for the sake of fun, or just to kind of see what would I look like if I lost 10 pounds or something. Okay, great. Like there's something there. I'm not quite sold on the idea of projecting that to the outside world necessarily when I'm chatting with them, or maybe the idea is because it is very cool. The actual technology is very cool.
Yep.
But maybe it's more a case of, like you said, like finding that really killer use case, that killer
Story.
quote unquote application for
Yep.
it. Yeah.
But plastic surgery is huge. People are into. There's kind of two. There's a divergence here. One is, and that's what these guys are going for, is the very subtle improvement of your appearance, and then the other is the silly avatar side with the colored eyes and the silly hats and the horns and the hair and whatever, right?
Sure.
So they're going for the very subtle technical upgrades, and the way they're doing it.
Technical.
Yeah,
upgrades.
like remove your
people.
mole, make yourself look thinner,
Sure.
and they're doing it by only, I guess, scanning the areas of the face that move,
Right.
so that they're able to, on a mobile platform, do it very quickly or something like that. So it sounded very interesting how they were technologically able to pull it off.
Yeah.
Because they're not the first to this space, but
No,
really
right.
neat.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I just think I can't see it being like a widespread thing in this particular use case. If they can find a way to apply this same image altering technology, maybe in a different space, I think that it could really take off. But we'll have to see.
Maybe the person that is looking at you on the other side,
Yep.
they can alter the image
tweak it
for you to
somehow.
appear the way they want you to appear.
That's true.
Maybe share that with you.
And I would be a little afraid, like if I was talking with a stranger who doesn't actually know how I really look, and then they see this beautiful, chiseled, handsome gentleman on their screen, and then when they meet me in real life, they're like, "What are you the same guy I talked to before?" Like that's I don't know.
It's weird.
Yeah,
It is kinda weird.
It is a little bit odd. But,
Well, let's jump into our second article here.
Yes.
SingldOut. Now, this is a matchmaking app. And they use your DNA science to match you with somebody that is compatible.
yes, genetically compatible.
Genetically compatible. And I guess there's a couple different markers they use. One of them that I found interesting was that from a DNA standpoint, you're able to match somebody's that has a completely different immune system than you do.
Right.
So your attraction to somebody is based on the fact that they have a different immune system than you do. And on a genetic level, the chemicals are firing, and that attraction is based on the fact that when you procreate then, your offspring would have a better chance at survival, I guess, because they had better genes, right? Or something like that.
And there's a lot of stuff in here about like pheromones, and there's things that I guess we as people in dealing with attraction would consider unconscious attractors or factors.
Pushes or pulls.
That science is apparently saying is more, these chemical interactions with pheromones and things that your body is giving off without realizing it. They're playing a bigger role in in attractiveness than we kind of give them credit for. And
so basically, with this matchmaking app, SingldOut, you are taking which I thought was cute, a marketing personality quiz,
right?
Which I guess they have to put in there, even if it's DNA-based science.
Yeah,
you still want to be able to say, I really like long walks on the beach, and I like the color blue.
Sure.
And, like that, I guess you have buy-in there when you are able to express who you are.
I don't think you can do any dating app without having some sort of input of your preferences.
Absolutely. So it's not all DNA. You get to put in your favorites. But then you send in a DNA sample.
Yeah.
And then they come back and let you know...
there's a whole
what
kit,
you're having for
think,
breakfast
right?
the next day.
You take I think it's a swab of your saliva or something. There's
I was
some
just
sort of
going to say
thing
DNA. I wasn't going actual swabbing of anything.
Oh, sorry, we don't want to get.
We're just going to just kind of gloss over the swabbing. That's what I was thinking.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I guess you have to trust their personality test and whatever science they're performing in your DNA that they're going to match you up well.
This is fascinating to me because I was actually watching a program, or I think it was online. And they're talking now about being able to remove disease from the human genome based on selective DNA mating.
Right.
So that a lot of times some of these unheard of or uncommon diseases or maladies only lay dormant in a human unless the other gene or a B. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm out of my comfort zone here. But unless the mate that you have has a match,
right,
and then you pass it along, and then your offspring would have the disease. So you're able to say, before I mate with anybody, do you have a match to this rare thing that I have? Because then we'll pass this rare thing on to our child.
Sure.
So now you can say, well, we're not going to mate, or I'm going to pick a mate based on some of these factors.
The ability to screen out future disease.
So this one couple had gotten together, and they were deeply religious, and they had talked and prayed about it, and they had decided to create based on this data. And she was saying, I am passing down to my children the fact that they will never have breast cancer or something like that. It wasn't breast cancer, but I'm giving the gift to my children and forever for my children's genealogy that they won't have this disease.
It sounds like we're saying sex is the answer to curing disease. Selective sexual relations.
Yeah, and it's so weird. So I don't know a lot about it, but it was interesting to read about. And so now here it is in app form.
And we should highlight the fact that I don't think the app makers are promoting it necessarily as a way to eliminate genetically passed diseases, but hopefully as a way to, ensure more compatible matchmaking possibilities.
Yeah, well, your immune systems will be different, and that'll be glorious.
I suppose.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's a lot of the this kind of falls into, for me, the what is that brain science now that where you work out your brain, neurologies and all
like a lot of the brain training
stuff, right? Where you go to the gym for your muscles, but you use this app to train your brain. So it's kind of that kind of a thing for me that
fair enough.
The DNA, I don't know.
I'm not sure either. Now let's ask John. Like, have you? First of all, are you're wearing a ring? I'm assuming you're a married man.
I'm married.
Did the online world or an app or anything play any role in you and your wife getting together, or no?
We got married when there wasn't any app yet, so we couldn't have used this app.
Okay, fair enough. And I guess we can only assume that there was some level of attraction there, that you didn't need a DNA test to tell you that you guys would be compatible.
Yeah, it was a very it was an interesting story, because as soon as I laid my eyes on her, I was very attracted to her.
Sure.
What's her immune system like?
Maybe we need to use the app first.
Yeah, we should check that out. I don't even know what my immune system is like.
No, me neither. Me neither. I wonder if maybe it can just give us, even if we're not interested in the matchmaking possibilities, maybe this app can give us some interesting genetic information about ourselves.
Sort of like you have a blood type, and then so you can know what pheromones you give off.
I guess. In Japan, they're really big on blood type being an indicator of your personality type and even your compatibility with other people, right? So the same way people, I guess, like follow astrology, saying whatever your astrological sign is, you're going to have these personality traits and be well matched with these people. They think the same way about blood type, which is, I mean, not exactly what we're talking about here, but same kind of idea in that your genetics, your physical makeup, somehow dictates compatibility options. I'd be really interested to see, and I guess maybe they have to collect some more data here, how well their matchmaking algorithm using the DNA works compared to, there are many other kind of matchmaking services out there, online services. If they can claim that the couples 98%. They put together, stay together longer or get married more often or whatever, maybe there's something to it. I don't know.
That's a marketing department, maybe.
I can just imagine, though, like, using this app and kind of finding someone who you think is such a great match. Everything looks like it's perfect, but then it tells you, no, actually your genetics don't quite line up. So, they may be the perfect person for you, but we're going to give it a no.
Yeah, and you'd hate to have that nagging in the back of your mind that I love her, but geez, we never really matched genetically.
Right.
So that's what happened. It's like irreconcilable differences, Judge.
That's right.
Well, it was genetic, Judge.
Yeah,
it was,
if only my genome was just a little bit more attractive to her. Somehow, right?
Good stuff.
Fair enough. Well, let's look at our last article for this week. It's called Less Mail, and it's actually spelled with a dot in the middle. Less.mail. Maybe we should say dot. Less.mail?
Less.mail. Yeah, I like that.
Or maybe it's just less mail. Less mail sounds better. Well, the idea with less mail, let's explain what it is. It is kind of an AI-based app, an email assistant that will read you your emails and will also answer your emails for you if you decide to allow it to do so. The idea behind this is that a lot of the emails we get are very routine, kind of, I don't know, dealing with quick decisions that tend to be the same. And if you don't want to spend all your time kind of dealing with that monotony, why not hand it off to an artificial intelligence or to an app that
I think it's
that can do some of that for
80% of your emails can sort of be responded to with kind of a template, I guess, right?
Yeah, at least this is what they claim. I don't know. I don't know if I could say that about my emails necessarily, but
it got me thinking about my emails.
Yeah,
a little more detailed.
Sure. So if you watch, there's a video where they demonstrate this in use, and this gentleman is kind of receiving messages and saying, tell them I'll be at the meeting tomorrow, or decline, but do so politely for me. So the app apparently is smart enough to know to give a polite excuse for you not being able to make an event or attend a meeting or whatever the case may be. Now, my reaction when I heard this was, I don't know if I'm going to trust a computer to be able to represent
Decline
me
politely.
to represent my personality, online. Like unless the recipient is made aware of the fact that there's an artificial intelligence, that there's a virtual assistant handling this for me.
Yeah, this was sent by my mobile device.
Yeah,
kind of a tag.
Then I would be a little afraid of kind of not having my voice, my quote unquote voice, represented in my email responses. But let me find out from you guys what you're thinking about this first before I say anything more about myself here.
When I looked at it, it was context was important, because it was not only the context of my environment when I was trying to deal with a phone that was talking to me, because I'm often in a noisy environment and running around and busy and so it's not like their videos where it was Serenity Now and the cup of tea was just finished steeping.
You're in a quiet coffee shop and it's
so that was the context, and then the other context was just what you talked about, Darren. One of the use cases or the stories was the guy's boss says, "How's that report coming?" And the guy's obviously sitting on the couch reading a magazine. He says, "Just tell him I'm working on it." So I don't know. Like, I'm kind of worried about the just tell him. That's not declining politely.
Right.
So you're going to have to look at that. So my kind of thinking was, yikes. And then the other thing I thought was, I don't know if you've ever seen the on the internet the sort of video. I think it's a College Humor thing where they say if Google was a guy, and they have a video of a guy sitting behind a desk as if he's Google, and so all these people come in and type in things, and he hands them pieces of paper, or he is their search engine, right?
Yes.
So one of them, he's talking about Siri and Apple's automated voice personality, I guess.
Yeah.
So I have an Apple phone, so I'm familiar with Siri, so I've often tried to ask my Apple phone questions by just talking to it, and it is a source of humor for our family, because I have never gotten an answer from Siri, and the answers that she gives me to my questions are humorous. I've actually stopped doing it because now she just phones people. I'll say, how many ounces are in a liter or something, or how do you convert, and she'll say, calling your father. I'm like,
really?
What? Don't call me. And so on this,
maybe she knows that your father has the answer.
Yeah, maybe he just call a friend or something. So and on this Google meme for College Humor, they have the guy Google's sitting there, and they have a woman standing beside him, and she is Siri. Yeah. So the person sitting there says, "Please show me pictures of the Serengeti," which is a desert, right?
Yeah.
And so Siri looks at Google and she says, "Please find pictures of spaghetti." And the person goes, no, not spaghetti, Serengeti. Right. And she looks at him again and goes, "Find pictures of spaghetti." So it just doesn't work, right?
Right.
But it's humorous. So and so I worry about the context of just tell them I'm working on it, and you get an email about the Serengeti or something, or now calling the president. What? Wait a minute, hold on.
Fair enough. Well, John, do you deal with a lot of routine emails? Do you think you could use a virtual assistant?
Actually, out of all these three apps, I would think this one would be the more appropriate for me.
Sure.
I do understand artificial intelligence because when I did my PhD at Waterloo, my work was in that space, and so we're making use of some of this intelligence even within GoalRecorder. Yeah. But the important thing here is when we entrust an automated software to handle things, very important things like emails, as you mentioned, representing who we are, as long as we maintain the control.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, this email, this is what I want to do. Tell him I'm working on it. Draft it. I still have the choice to make changes.
Right.
Meaning I don't need to write all the three sentences. It's just going to give me a draft.
Right. And then you can say send if it looks good.
If it looks good, I can say send.
Right.
So in that case, I think it's useful.
Right.
And beforehand, I could have created my templates that when I say this is what I want you to bring up. Maybe I give just a single word that, prepare. If I say prepare, maybe it knows that, get that template of sending an email out this way. So it's helpful. It saves time. Looking at people that they deal with 500 emails in a single day. Yeah. For those ones, this is going to be a really, really, really time saver for them, as long as they maintain control.
Right.
Right.
I could see myself using it for something that's just dealing with a lot of the emails that I need to read and throw away, because I do find myself getting a lot of kind of newsletter type emails or like promotions, and often for things that I've signed up for, like the what's on sale at the grocery store this week. But it's enough for me to look at the email. I don't have to reply to it. I don't have to save it necessarily. I've got the information ingested. So if I had something I could look at and say, delete or archive or something, and it just kind of sorts the stuff, I could see that as a use case. I'm very nervous, like I said before, about
just tell them I'm working on it.
Yeah, having something crafting words, like putting words in my mouth from a computer. And my own background is in linguistics, so when you study language and the nuances of language, I mean, there are so many subtleties that we deal with when we deal with language.
Sure.
And this is why, this is still an experimental technology for the most part, right? We don't have computers that we can have natural conversations with because there's so much complexity going on with that. And, we choose all kinds of different, language registrars depending on who the people we're speaking to are. If we're talking to a buddy, we talk differently than if we're talking to our boss, different than if we're talking to
your mother,
your mom, or the prime minister drops by or whatever. We tailor our vocabulary and our speech style according to the recipient. And I don't know if an app like this can differentiate if I get an email from my brother, tell him this, or if I get an email from my boss, tell him that.
And that was kind of what the marketing led you to believe when he didn't just say, use my template for responding. He said, decline politely, which is, again, a marketing spin that leads the consumer to believe that there's a level of intricacy there, that there is some AI going on, or it knows that politely and respond means a myriad of different templates, maybe. So it's
and let's assume
interesting.
Let's assume this becomes something that's in widespread use. Like I'm guessing that the AI here only has so many kind of options for polite declining of offers. There's going to be, let's be generous and say it has 20 different ways to decline politely. Well, once you've kind of seen all 20 and it starts repeating itself, you're going to know I'm hearing back from somebody's AI and not from the actual person, right? I've used this same template myself.
And would that even matter, right? As a busy professional, you think, okay, good, because all you really want is the response to your question, right?
Well, and this is what I think. Like maybe the recipient needs to, in some way, be made aware that you're using a service like this when it sees those replies, just to avoid some of the potential creepiness or
Darren has approved this message. He has not necessarily composed this message.
That's right.
I like it.
And I guess we'll see as it gets used, how people decide to use this technology. And absolutely, I think this type of technology is we're only going to see more things like this, right? And hopefully we can perfect it and make good productive use of it.
Less stop mail. I think I'm going to have to decline politely at this time.
Nice one.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be here all day.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's all for our articles. Let's spend some time talking to John here. Now, I'm going to... Steve introduced you, and I didn't get a chance to try to pronounce your last name, but I'm going to try now.
Sure,
John Akinyemi.
Not
quite.
if you look at it from AI perspective, I would say 85%.
Nice.
Okay. How would you say?
It's John Akinyemi.
Akinyemi.
It's okay. Just call me John.
I'll stick with John. John works. Perfect.
That's not bad. 85% is pretty good because we've had some tough ones over the weeks.
It's true. I think I need an upgrade one way or the other. But anyway,
Darren version 2.0.
That's right. Well, I'm past 2.0 now. I'm several versions past.
What color eyes are you going to have?
I haven't decided, man. I already got the nose, though.
Yeah.
Do I need to use the Looksery app now?
Yeah,
for me to appear a little bit different to you guys.
If you think our looks need a boost, and
I can't believe you wore a tuxedo to the podcast today.
Yeah, thank goodness this is an audio podcast. You guys have no idea what's happening here. Let's talk a little bit about GoalRecorder, and now I'm going to admit right off the bat, I've looked a little bit at the website, but I purposely didn't dive right into exploring everything about GoalRecorder because I wanted to hear straight from you, John, what this was all about. Are you the founder of GoalRecorder, the creator, or you're part of a team, or maybe you can just let us know how you got involved first.
I'm one of the founders.
Okay.
So we have three founders. We're all here in the Waterloo region. And so I'm a co-founder. I'm also the president of GoalRecorder.
Excellent. So. And what does GoalRecorder do? What are they all about?
So like at GoalRecorder, basically everything we do here is to help organizations create purpose-driven workplaces. Because something happens as human beings when we can attach purpose to what we do. It energizes us. We feel happy. We believe we count, that we matter, and so that we're empowering organizations to have that power, to be able to give that to their employees, such that when people come to work on a day-to-day basis, there's a purpose behind what they do. For the person that picks the phone to make 50 telephone calls in a day, to not just schlepping it out and say, okay, I'm making these calls because it connects to our bottom line. That I'm helping to improve the bottom line of my organization. For them, it's different. They look at making calls in a different perspective. They're engaged, so it helps them to have a better quality of life.
Okay, yeah. So it's a way for them to kind of see how their one little part in the larger machine of the company is creating a meaningful contribution to the overall goals of the organization.
Yes.
Would that be safe? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
that's correct.
GoalRecorder, you're mostly working with other businesses, not necessarily with individuals who are setting goals, but with companies that are setting goals? Or?
Yes. So we work with companies.
Okay.
So we serve small to mid-sized companies.
Okay.
Ranging from 3 people, because I'm just 3 people in my company and we use GoalRecorder, to as big as 500 companies, even bigger companies. The main challenge with the bigger companies is it's more difficult to get bigger companies to start using a new software.
Sure. You kind of have to demonstrate it first with the smaller companies before
that's correct.
Bigger companies.
And that's the strategy we're using.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, what does GoalRecorder look like? Let's say if I was working at one of these companies that's making use of GoalRecorder, I'm the guy who's answering phones for customer service or something like that, and I sit down at my desk. How am I interacting with GoalRecorder as I'm sitting there? What's the experience like? So
the first thing is to empower the leadership, the executives, for them to create like the vision, the goals for their companies, so that they put that into GoalRecorder.
So they have to have the message.
Yes. So that when they do that, all the employees, they have access to that. They see that, okay, this is what our company is about this quarter or this year.
Okay.
So that's the first step. So the next step is, especially for mid-sized to bigger-sized organizations, they cascade or they communicate and break those goals down into the levels of different teams, so that the big chunk of the goal is broken down to different teams, and then from different teams, those goals are also broken down to each person. So for the guy that is handling the telephone, he sees that, we have a sales goal of maybe $10 million this year.
Right.
For his sales team, maybe sales team needs to bring in 7 million out of the 10. And for him, he's looking at, on a week-by-week basis, when I make 50 calls, I'm contributing to the $7 million because I'm booking appointments. When we have appointments, we can have set of meetings. When we have meetings, we can have demos. So that he sees those connections. From his perspective, he can also observe what other people are doing towards the goal.
Okay.
But in which case, it's not just like an island.
Sure.
But it's working in a team to achieve a common purpose.
So it's kind of it's almost like empowerment, and there's some transparency there. So once the management is able to identify the annual or the quarterly goals that they have, whether it be a sales volume or some culture that they're trying to generate, or whatever their goal is for that time period, it trickles all the way down through mid-management and the teams to the actual guys that are on the front lines and in the trenches working, so that they can see their task affecting the goal.
That's
because
correct.
When I do this, it means I'm helping move the ship forward in this respect here, so that I can see transparently how I'm helping the company on a day-to-day task basis. So when I do this, we get here.
Yeah, that's very vital.
Sure.
Because if you look at the goals, the way we set goals, let's even look at personal goals. At the beginning of the year, you set a personal goal that this year, I want to lose 50 pounds for really somebody that's relatively big.
Sure.
That's an outcome.
Right.
You're not going to wake up one day and magically press a button on yourself and you shrink. No, it's not going to happen.
That's an app we're working on, actually.
Sure.
Yeah, if you can do that, sign me up. But like you have activities that, okay, I need to register into the gym, need to eat this type of, maybe eat an apple a day, eat some broccoli.
Sure.
So you have specific things you do. Those activities, they roll up to achieve the goal for you. Now, if you stop eating veggies, if you stop going to the gym, if you don't have enough sleep, if your mind is messed up, you're not going to achieve the goal, no matter what you do.
Right. Yeah. So this is a good way you can break down those large goals into smaller, digestible pieces, so to speak.
Yes.
and that everybody can
Nicely
see
done.
how they're contributing to each piece.
Yes.
So this data of how you are contributing to the larger goals needs to be collected somehow. So once again, if I'm sitting there making sales calls, am I then entering my data into the goal recorder system somehow, or is it being kind of passively collected, or am I saying, here's how many calls I made today, typing that in somewhere? Like,
Yeah, because the
where
fear,
does
I
that
guess,
all
would be
happen?
that you don't really have buy-in from the employee to say, you're just wanting to track me or my performance or be a big brother, right? Like, why?
Yeah.
There would be a fear there that if you're tracking your 50 calls and I've only done 48, then it would
Then
create
maybe I'll get
competition
judged
or cheating or, the numbers
or
might
affect
not
my
be right.
performance review.
Yeah.
But
So
anyway, well, I guess that's two things. So where does the data come from, and how do you motivate people to provide it? I guess are the two aspects of that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Like what you mentioned about acting like a big brother, we've heard that over and over and over and over again.
Right.
Okay.
Before we explain how GoalRecorder works to people.
Sure.
And but I'm going to answer that by describing the way one of our clients made use of this.
Sure.
So he
we
was
like stories. Those are good.
Yeah. So this was somebody that was very good with IT, and so that he helps the organization with the IT infrastructures. Now, other people within the organization, they knew he understood IT, phone, computers, laptop, and various things.
Yep.
So that when they have challenges with their personal computers, phone, they bring it to him to help them fix. Maybe they want to buy a real good TV. They come to ask him that, oh, by the way, I'm thinking about this TV. Can you help me do some research and recommend something for me?
Right.
And apparently he was spending time on those. And those activities, none of them rolled up to the goals of the organization.
Right.
Then when we introduced GoalRecorder to them, suddenly he had this aha moment that, hey, wait a minute. I spend this many hours on a week-by-week basis on these extraneous activities. Guess what? I'm going to log everything in GoalRecorder.
Right.
They're not aligned to any goal. So GoalRecorder is going to mark it as unaligned and red. Right. So at the end of the month, I go to my manager and say, by the way, I've spent 5 hours on these things. So do you need to change my job description?
Right. Are you sure you want me to do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what I was hired to do?
So it kind of helps you, and it could offer a great opportunity for you to say, look, here's what I'm actually doing all the time. So do we have another opportunity here? Because the customers are calling and asking about this all the time. And I'm supposed to be doing this. So, that's a great pivot opportunity or,
Yeah, or another way for a company to kind of see where their efforts are being expended and collect those analytics about, we're actually spending 60 or 70% of our time working in areas that don't significantly contribute to the goals that we're trying to achieve.
Sure, you can reduce waste and cost and
So
and also look. I was a glass full. I was going for opportunity.
Yeah,
but we can also. What's your DNA? What's your immune system like there?
I think it's all about improving the efficiencies, or at least that's one possibility, right? It's increasing motivation as well as helping to trim the fat away, right?
Yeah. It's very interesting that like the Harvard Business Review, they did their research, and they came to the conclusion that on average, 37% of financial targets are being missed because of misalignment between what needs to be achieved and the activities that are being done.
Right.
So you can imagine technically a $6 million company.
Sure.
If they fix the 37% waste, they should be a $10 million company.
Yeah.
So it's big.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very significant.
It makes sense. Like, as I think about it more, I can see, like, for me, a lot of people are in that social media thing right now. So how do you turn likes into dollars? And is Facebook any good? And how do I engage people socially? And does it make sense for me as a company to have a presence on Facebook, for example?
Right.
So those tasks, all that talking and engaging the customer, those are going to have very subtle effects on the company. You can't say, oh, we increase sales because we have a Facebook page or we have 1,000 likes. Those metrics really aren't flowing through, as I understand it, through social media. So you could then look at it very clearly and say, look, you're spending all your time tweeting and Facebooking about our company, and we're really not seeing any growth or any movement. So you're able to make smart decisions about that. So it just makes sense. Like,
You know what I find really interesting is now 3 of our guests that we've had on the podcast so far are all building apps or platforms to help improve and engage employee culture, right? So we've had many weeks ago, we had Happenate on board. I guess not many weeks, maybe a month and a half ago. That they're all about getting employees to take part in team activities outside of the workplace, or even events inside the workplace for building, team morale and company morale and things like this.
And then we had Jennifer Moss from Plasticity.
Yeah, Plasticity, which is all about the emotional state of employees and making them happier, more productive people.
And being able to communicate that back up to management.
And then
how they're feeling.
And then with GoalRecorder, we're looking at, once again, motivation, so that I don't feel like just a small cog in a large machine, but seeing that I have purpose, I can significantly contribute to what my company's overall goals are, that I am important, that I'm not just a forgotten person in a cubicle. And I wonder, if down the road we're going to see kind of an amalgamation of some of these different things. So you have, like, instead of kind of multiple platforms that are addressing multiple things, maybe it wouldn't be the end of the world for some larger company to come along and buy out you guys who are all kind of addressing these different specific areas of employee engagement and
GoalRecorder,
a super platform. That's right.
GoalRecorder,
some sort of super platform that becomes the killer app for making all of that happen on all these different levels. We'll have to see. I guess it wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world for someone to offer you several $1 million, I'm assuming, to incorporate your technology into something down the road, right? Or maybe not.
We have to look at every offer that comes in.
Yeah,
very
course.
nicely done. I was going to say, do you have a number? I wonder what that number is.
I'm not ready to buy out anybody yet myself.
Not making any offers yet?
Not yet. Let me ask John, just if we
By the way, I haven't answered the other question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Where's the data come from?
Where's the data come from? Yes,
so the data comes from 2 sources.
Okay.
So the first source is for organizations that they already have things figured out. They have some processes in place.
Sure.
Maybe they have a CRM.
Right.
Or they have a task management app, or they have a project management solution that they already have a record of these activities.
Sure.
So what we do is to help them not have to re-enter such data. So we integrate with those third-party applications,
sure,
and we suck the data in.
Okay, sounds
But
good.
some other organizations that we've also found out is that they don't have that in place. So in which case our platform is also available for them to put those activities in. So either way, they're covered, and it's extremely easy to use.
Sure.
Yeah, so you either start with the company's existing system,
Yeah.
or I think the video on your website was talking about a gentleman that had Excel spreadsheets and a whole bunch of paper, right?
Right.
So they were tracking it and doing it and aware of it and trying hard, but didn't have the right tool.
Sure.
They were fishing with a line of string and no fishing rod,
Right.
So
and so this becomes the tool,
Absolutely.
essentially.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask John, shifting things away from GoalRecorder specifically, but just to find out a little bit about your own background and experience coming into this. I took a quick look at your LinkedIn profile and saw you had been involved in a whole bunch of different organizations and institutions in the past. So can you just give us a little bit of a window into your own story? How did you, what kind of journey did you walk to get to this place now where you're building GoalRecorder? And where do you start?
Well, thank you for that. It's been an amazing journey for me.
Sure.
So I was born and raised in Nigeria. Nigeria is in West Africa.
Sure.
And so that I spent the first 30 years of my life in Nigeria.
Wow.
So I studied computer science at the university undergrad program. So while I was in Nigeria, I worked in the bank.
Yeah.
So when I was working at the bank. Actually, that was about 15 years ago.
Right.
That was when the idea for GoalRecorder was planted in my heart because of an incident I went through. So but I left Nigeria. I went to Winnipeg, University of Winnipeg, for my grad studies. I did MSc, Masters in Science, in Computer Science, between 2003 and 2006. And when I was done, I put in for the PhD program in Winnipeg. Well, Winnipeg and Nigeria, they're a little bit different.
Sure. Just a little.
One is warm, the other one is cold in the wintertime.
Yeah.
But yet I like Winnipeg. Winnipeg is such a very warm place.
Sure. Can I ask, how did you end up in Winnipeg? Of all of the different places you could have gone to, why was Winnipeg the one that you landed at?
It's a natural choice. That would be the top 3 on most people's list, I would imagine.
So I have a friend that was living in Winnipeg.
Okay.
And since I knew he was in Canada, I don't know too much about all the different cities.
Sure.
But I wanted to come to Canada to study, so I knew him. I sent him an email that, hey, I want to come here. And since he was already in Winnipeg,
okay,
it wasn't. I didn't pick too many other places. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was how I chose Winnipeg.
I just had to ask because it's such a it's the other side of the planet, and Winnipeg is not always on everybody's radar.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. So you applied to do your PhD and
So I started with the PhD in Winnipeg at the University of Manitoba, and I got the national scholarship, the NSERC scholarship.
Oh wow!
Which I brought to the University of Waterloo because it's one of the best computer science universities in the world.
Sure.
So I came in there, and so I did my PhD from Waterloo. So shortly when I was finishing my PhD, the seed for GoalRecorder that was planted in my heart about 15 years ago, it came back to me, and I think it was an interesting story. I can share that story if you guys,
absolutely,
if you have ears for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I started working in this bank. It's a big bank, and I was hired to process checks.
And this is back in Nigeria now?
Back in Nigeria.
Right,
yes.
Okay.
So I was hired to process checks in the checks clearance unit with computer science background. So what I offered me was I knew how to code. I knew how to write computer programs. But again, I also needed to make a living.
Sure.
So I started seeing different processes that could be improved. This was 1998, so that was way back then.
Right.
So the first day I got there, I had to write information about checks into 3 different files. I hated it. Why should I write the same information into 3 different files? So I complained about it. They told me to shut up and just do that. I said, oh, okay.
We don't care about efficiency.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but when I got home, I opened up my laptop. I created a database in using Microsoft Access.
Yeah.
I had a form on it. It was very simple.
Yeah.
So that this form, I can capture the information on the checks.
Yeah.
I can print it into the 3 different formats that the bank wants for compliance purposes. So when I finished, I showed it to my manager that, by the way, I did this.
Yeah, I took a 4-hour lunch today because I was done in 15 minutes. Right? Like
Maybe not. Yes. And what did your manager think?
Yeah, he loved it.
Wow.
I bet.
He loved it because now he could, at the end of the week, he can do some analysis, he can summarize, he can. So he loved it. That, hey, John, this is really good. So he told his manager and the manager up to along the hierarchy, they loved it.
Yeah.
At which point they knew I had the skill.
Right.
So other things, other operations, I started working on those other things. So I improved various processes within the bank. They started giving me money as a reward.
Sure.
I was being promoted on the fast track.
So let me ask you, what do you think was your biggest asset then? Your ability to deliver the solution by coding it, or your ability to look at their processes and find efficiencies?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
It was a combination of the two.
Both.
Yeah.
I could look into this as being inefficient,
Yeah.
and I had
offer a
the
solution.
skill
Yeah.
because
But that's what computer programming comes down to, right? Is there's that principle of don't repeat yourself and make everything as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
That's how good programmers think. So
Yeah.
applying that thinking to bank processes and being able to use those skills, I think would be a natural outcome of
Yes.
that training, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. So now I told you that story because it helped me to get the recognition and visibility within the bank.
Sure.
I loved it. I was being promoted. So, but it didn't take too long before I started to realize that the other people that I met there, they've been there 4, 5, 6 years before I came.
Right.
They weren't even recognized as I was. So I started thinking, what's different? And I knew that I wasn't smarter than them. They understood the banking operations way better than I did. So all I brought to the table was being able to see the misaligned processes and fixing it with my ability to code, to write computer programs. So that's on one side. Then my manager saw the benefit in that. And he told his manager, who also told his manager. So my work had the visibility within the organization.
Sure.
That was it.
Yep.
Then I started thinking, these people, they were hired to do, they were doing what they were hired to do.
Right.
I was the outlier.
Right.
What if their day-to-day activities and contribution to the organization is also visible within the organization? Will things be different from them? I thought so. So, unfortunately, at that point, even though I was happy, but at the same time, I was sad to looking at things from their perspective.
Sure.
And so that when I was finishing my program here, I was like, John, this problem is still there.
Yeah.
Still there. We don't want to have miserable people working because about 30% of our life is spent doing work. So it's important that the work has meaning, purpose, and it's visible. So,
Right.
Yeah. So that's
Wow.
the story behind GoalRecorder.
Wow.
That's fascinating. I'm interested in that because I was reading, and when I'm bringing this all the way back to Jennifer from Plasticity and her secret and superpowers. One of my secret powers is I believe that I'm a social and technology iconoclast. So I break down barriers of existing structures.
Okay.
And that's what you're sort of saying is you're an iconoclast. You came in and said, I'm the outlier here. I haven't worked in banking for 20 years. So I'm going to ask some what you guys might think are silly questions. Like, why do we have to do this 3 times? And I'm not afraid to speak out about that. You're going to break that barrier of, I know you guys have been doing this for 10 years this way, and you have more experience than I am, but why are we doing this again? So that's a really cool thing, and I like that. It's almost like being a disruptive technology, but you do it in an intelligent way and with those skills, so you don't just break things, you offer solutions to fix them. And part of the beginning is that you have to recognize when things are broken, so that's just a really cool thing.
And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said you're bringing the solution as well, right? So, anybody who's the boss of a company, they don't just want to hear their employees saying all the things that suck. The things that aren't working. They want an employee who's going to come to them and say, listen, I found something that's not working and I made something that will fix the problem.
Let's
and
try
here
this.
it is. And those are the people that instantly make the bosses think, this guy's on the ball, let's move him up, right?
And you've taken that to the next level, and you've said you had that, and everybody had that. So with GoalRecorder, they can now sort of do that, right? Like you can see your traction and see the impact you'll have.
You see the impact. You see how you make contributions.
Right.
Because it's important. You can imagine a young guy with 2 kids at home, married with a wife, and at the end of the day, you want to just lying on the bed and thinking, how did I move my company forward today?
Sure.
You shouldn't be scratching your head to think, oh, what did I do? No. Your company should empower you to be able to say, okay, I did that. Maybe you wrote it, if you're a programmer, I wrote this module. Why are you writing the module anyways? Who cares about your module?
Sure.
That I'm writing it because this is how it connects to the big picture.
Sure.
You think about it and say, you know what, I really matter today.
If you're doing unit testing, you can see that you're helping, or if you answered 500 emails that day, and all you think is, all I did was emails today, you can actually see that is moving us forward because, you know. That's cool.
The other thing that also happens is it helps leaders to cut waste. Because by connecting what people are working on with goals, a lot of the things we do at work don't contribute to any goal at all.
Right.
So that when you see that, this is an orphaned project.
Right.
Is it important that I spend the next 3 months working on this?
Right.
So it becomes obvious that though the project might seem to be very good, it's interesting. Yeah. It's just a hobby.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's like we were saying before about trimming the fat, right? Using the Goal Recorder's platform to see where we have such a huge inefficiency by spending so much time in this area where we should be focused on this, right?
And having the executives at the top level craft that message and make those intelligent decisions is important, because I know there are companies now like Google and ClearPath Robotics that are putting that fat in on purpose. And they're saying to their employees, you can have 20% of your time to do whatever you want. So there's some innovation and some disruption and some cool things happen out of that. I know ClearPath, when we went to the event that they hosted for Hacker Nest, they were talking about that. We were like, how did you hook up the Oculus Rift to the robot so it crushes a beer can? And it was just the guy's project, right? But it was on company time, and it was sort of, they encouraged you to experiment. And maybe that's in robotics and not as much in software.
But things like the Google self-driving car came out of things like that as well.
So that's, if that comes from the top and leadership at the beginning says, hey, let's put this in as an employee perk, and it's something that can drive our company and you have innovation, and I don't know how the IP falls with that, but
the company probably owns.
So then you can track that, right?
Sure.
And it doesn't necessarily just become fat, because some of that has value, I think, to the company.
Sure. We're just getting to the time here where we should wind things down, but I want to ask John before we say goodbye and stuff, if there are people out there who have companies that would like to take advantage of Goal Recorder's platform or try it out, how can they go about doing that?
Oh, okay. So we do have a website. The website is GoalRecorder.com.
Okay.
So you can, if you get on Goal Recorder, our contact information is there. Okay. Or you can send us an email through success@goalrecorder.com.
And you guys are operating in several companies already, or are you kind of testing, or where are you at?
So
production-wise?
We launched at the end of April this year.
Okay.
And after that, we got in some beta users, companies that were using it, just testing, trying it out.
Sure.
But those companies, they're converting to paying users right now since September.
Okay.
So because they've used it for 3 months,
right,
it becomes part of their workflow.
Sure.
So we went back to one of the managers, and he was saying, hey, John, thank you. That before now, because they have teams scattered all across Canada, he thought his hair was receding.
Right.
But now it's Goal Recorder. Everything is easy. I bring up my iPad in the morning. I know exactly what the guys are doing.
Wow.
Now, look at my hair. I put gel on it.
That's excellent.
Maybe that we have an app
for
him.
The hair.
He can have green eyes or blue eyes with his gelled hair.
That's right. Okay, so that's great. So you guys, you're out there. It's working.
It's working.
And you're collecting new customers now. So
that's
it's
correct.
A good time to get involved with Goal Recorder. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, and we'll make sure to include links to your website. And I'm guessing, do you guys have like a Twitter page or any of that?
At Goal Recorder is our Twitter page. Goal Recorder.
Perfect. So we'll make sure we can include some links to that in the posting for the podcast, and people can find you guys. That would be awesome. Well, listen, guys, let's wrap things up here. We want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us for another episode of TSP Weekly. Thank you for Communitech for hosting us here once again today. And we want to ask you, please send us your comments, your questions, your criticisms, your feedback. We want to know what we can improve on the podcast. And we'd also like to know if you guys think we're doing some stuff right. It'd be great to know that too. You can reach us at feedback@tspweekly.com, or you can just drop a comment on our website, tspweekly.com, and let us know what you think. So, from myself, Darren Conley, my co-host, Stephen Campbell, and our guest, John Akinyemi.
Wow, that's 95 now.
95, almost there. From Goal Recorder. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see all of you next week.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you, guys.